how exactly does simulating cyber attacks in this new facility translate to better preparedness for Indian enterprises? And what was the tipping point that made Deloitte come to this realization that we need a dedicated testing ground for this physical and digital convergence?
All right, thanks for putting across this question, Aditi. Uh, the genesis of having Connect Safe Lab is not something that we started yesterday. We had been thinking about it since past over 2 years. Uh, we have got 4 cyber intelligence centers in India, Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, and one more in this facility. Those cyber intelligence centers largely target towards the IT system and IT enabled system. But since past over 2 years, we observed that these cyber threats were not limited only to the IT systems. They were pervading beyond IT systems, and the perpetrators were targeting more of the critical infrastructure, whether it is transport, whether it is power systems, whether it is aviation, whether it is oil and gas, and so on and so forth. One of the reasons also was the IT and OT convergence. A lot of digital transformation which has taken place in last few years or so has expanded the attack surface, and whenever attack surface increases, it provides more opportunities for the attackers to come and cause the disruption. And if you really look at the backbone of manufacturing, backbone of public services, backbone of day-to-day life moving on, utility, etc., is built on these sectors which I just talked about. And we thought that it is important that Deloitte, being a leader in the innovation and anything that we do is quite futuristic, that we build a facility which provides our clients and our teams and organizations in general to come and see what happens when a digital threat meets the physical reality. So an organization from, let's say, medtech or life sciences or healthcare, their team they can come in and they can see how any device which they are manufacturing, if the data is altered, if some issue takes place or somebody hacks into that device, how the data is altered, and if that alteration of the data happens, how it can be fatal to the individual whose testing it is doing, whether it is blood testing, whether it is skin disease-related testing, etc. And therefore, combination of this or cumulative effect of this could bring a hospital or the healthcare infrastructure down also, and it is about the lives of the people. Similarly, if you really look at it, power plant or power system, which comprises power plant, transmission and generation and distribution, all of them, if any of that component gets hacked, it can cause the blackout, it can cause the power outage, and it can cause severe disruption to the country as such. When we were looking at all of these futuristic threat scenarios, we said the facility has to be such which houses all these critical sectors, medtech, the consumer, the manufacturing, the power plants, the automotive, etc., where organizations can come. They can think what are the vulnerabilities which currently are there and what could be the possible potential future vulnerabilities which could be there. They can simulate along with us, they can test them, and they can find the solutions to remediate them from the component level all the way to the entire architecture, and when it comes full-blown in an integration manner for the services that it offers to the citizens as such. And that's been the objective of setting up this lab, where organizations come and experience it, co-create, co-develop with us, and make the world much more resilient when it comes to adopting and embracing digital infrastructure.
Following up on what you said, cyber attack surface today has exploded to connected cars, even smart devices and appliances today. If a hacker breaches a hospital's network, say, or a connected vehicle, it's no longer a privacy breach, it's a threat to life, right? In India, is India, both on the manufacturing side and on the regulatory side, keeping pace with the security demands of these life-critical IoT devices, or is innovation outpacing security?
All right, so if you really look at the world population is about 8 billion, and the IoT sensors which are counted available are more than 30 billion. So that tells you that on an average, every human being is surrounded by more than 3.5 IoT sensor, at any point in time. Whether it is a hospital, which is let's say healthcare industry, whether it is a manufacturing, automotive, or any other industry, there has been a sense of awareness that because of the sensitivity of the data that it handles and the data that it relies on in case of healthcare, based on the data that the doctors receive, they prescribe what should be the right medicine, what should be the right prescription for the patient. Similarly, if you really look at it, if you connected cars which are there, if you're driving the connected car, you're on a highway, you're speeding about 100, 120, and suddenly you find that the steering is no longer in your control. You're not going to be worried about how much cash is there in your home or how much money is there in your bank account. What you're going to be more worried about, how do you get out of this, and that's the life risk to your danger to your life. So in each of the sector, awareness has been there, and because the boundaries are going beyond this security to safety and human lives, the security related aspects are being considered, but depending upon the sector in which an organization is operating, the maturity also varies. In healthcare organization, because it's a bit more regulated, the sense of security by design, safety by design is slightly more than let's say in manufacturing, which are still operating with the OT legacy systems. Auto sector also, because they're also driven by certain standards and regulation. To some extent, they are making sure that their engine control unit or the other sensors like transmission control unit, etc., they are more secure, and the data which they are transmitting, data which they are processing, does not get into the hands of somebody who can make misuse of it. So there's a bit more awareness, but I think work is in progress. Much more maturity is needed across all the sectors, and which is why what I was saying earlier, more focus over next few years also is going to be strengthening the consumer IoT as well as the industrial IoT, which comprises all these sectors.
The first strike is often digital rather than military. Given India's strategic geopolitical stance and positioning amid the recent regional tensions as well, how vulnerable is our critical infrastructure to state-sponsored cyber warfare, and are our Indian enterprises treating this as a national security issue, or is it just an IT issue?
No, it's indeed a national security, national resilience issue. If you really look at it, kinetic wars are time bound. You know, okay, on these days, these times, etc., kinetic wars are taking place, or they have taken place. But then cyber war is something which is always continuous, right? So you got to always be at your best when you are preparing yourself, when you are defending against those who are launching cyber warfare on you. As far as our country is concerned, our infrastructure, our policy, and the sense of guidance which is coming from the leadership is quite straightforward, that we got to strengthen the security of our national critical infrastructure across all the sectors. And there have been certain examples in the past where while due to geopolitical tension, some attacks were launched, but then we were able to contain them. We made sure that those attacks do not materialize to cause disruption, right? So the strengthening has happened, but like I said, it is always evolving process. We got to be always abreast of what attackers may be thinking, may be doing. Same technologies they are using for disruption, but then because we are using for defense, we got to be thinking much like them, but then for the defense purposes, and that's the continuous process that will carry on, that will always be there, and for which enterprises, academia, and government, all of us will have to work together to strengthen the national security and national resilience.
In the event of, say, a digital attack on a public sector, let's say rail or aviation, what role does the private sector play? For a firm like Deloitte, are you becoming a de facto part of the national defense architecture, or are you playing an active role and you see yourself as a consultant to the government?
Yeah, it depends upon what the engagements, etc., has been with the government. In certain cases, we do play the role of the advisor. In certain places, we do contribute into the policy making or the standards making, etc. But depending upon how the engagement is there with the government institutions, we do make sure that we put across our point of view with them to contribute for making whether it is policy, whether it is standard, or the implementation of technology for strengthening the entire infrastructure across the sectors.
Do you think India needs a dedicated framework for cybersecurity apart from the DPDP framework, such as the security framework in the Europe?
Yeah, so national security stack does exist, and
That talks just about data privacy, but on a
it talks
broader
about
level.
it talks about data protection also, but it needs to be strengthened, like I said, because threat landscape is ever evolving, and therefore that stack also has to address the newer threats, emerging threats which are coming in. And as much as I know, the right people in the right ministries are looking at strengthening it and broad basing it to counter the newer and emerging threats, and that is going to be a continuous process as such.
And is Deloitte a stakeholder in these discussions?
We do work with certain government agencies and the policy making bodies.
All right. Before we wrap up, I also wanted to talk about India's DPI stack, which is a global pioneer, and with UPI, ONDC, Ayushman Health, these are all systems which have increased financial and social security for people in India, but it has also created a massive interdependence of systems in India. What are the hidden systematic risks in DPI when we say our healthcare system, our banks, they are all interconnected? What are the systemic risks that you can see here, and what can we do to ensure that a localized attack to these systems does not exaggerate to the national level?
All right. Like you said, our digital public infrastructure has reached the world stage. It's a benchmark for many countries when they are looking at building their own DPI as such. And I know that about 24 countries we are advising for them to build their own version of India stack as such. When we started in the DPI, primarily consisted of identity and then payments. But now if you look at it, it has got education, it has got healthcare also included as part of it, right? Our DPI stack has a lot of interfaces and integration with other systems also for financial inclusion, education inclusion, healthcare inclusion, etc. And whenever the integration happens, the risk emanates from those integration points also. So therefore, the supply chain related issues and related risk, they become very, very important for us to address there. And these are going to be continuous process. Our DPI stack is quite strong when it comes to identity and access management related issues. A lot of security controls are by design embedded into it, and government makes sure that continuous security and privacy controls are also integrated. But like I said, the supply chain issues for any new API which we have, let's say, used for any change or let's say to integrate a new system, it increases the attack surface. Therefore, there could be a new vulnerability which might come in. Therefore, the continuous testing against the supply chain issues and against supply chain attack is going to be very crucial for making sure that seamless services to residents and citizens continue to be there from DPI. Second is going to be as we embrace AI. So AI, when AI is used by the attackers, velocity and the expansion of attack increases as well. Therefore, how we are countering AI-related threats which are going to come, and making sure that whenever any AI adoption is happening in the entire DPI stack, the security by design principles, privacy by design principles are applied throughout. That is going to be another thing that has to be a continuous process. Third, I would say the DPI has now become backbone. About 80% of our, in January, 80% of our digital payments were through using our DPI stack. Therefore, resilience and making sure that this remains up all the time is going to be very critical. And the third point I would say, continuous testing of the DPI stack against the resilience, cyber resilience, technology resilience, etc., is going to be very important as well. And all of this is going to be the continuous process. We cannot say that, okay, we have done it today, it will not happen tomorrow. It has to be, a continuous process. We have to keep doing it, be at it all the time, every time.
Gaurav, we have talked about enterprise level cyber security, but when it comes to the common layman of India, who might not be as well read to shield against these AI driven, sophisticated cyber attacks, what are some societal fundamental changes that we should bring in from both the private and public sector to ensure that the common man is protected from these attacks?
Very right. And this is something which is very close to my heart as well. If you really look at it, the access to the internet, okay, access to the digital media, access to the digital is available right from a toddler all the way to an elderly person also. It is available to somebody who's living in the posh urban area all the way to somebody who's living in the villages. So therefore, making sure that bare minimum security awareness and privacy awareness is there across all these people is one crucial cog in the wheel. We from Deloitte, what we do is throughout the year, we keep making sure that some kind of the security awareness sessions we keep conducting with in certain schools, with certain group of people in the elderly age homes, etc., or some other, working with some other NGOs, etc. The idea is to basically strengthen or bring their awareness level to a place where they know what is good versus bad when they are in the digital medium, right? The second thing I would say that technology and the players who are offering the technology, which is used by the users as such, they also have to embed those controls whereby somebody inadvertently does not fall prey to the bad actors there. There's quite a bit of work which has happened, but I think it is a continuous process. More and more work will be required there. Thirdly, I think from a grassroots level, from a primary school level, we have to make sure that the cyber security or the awareness, the right use of digital medium, ethical use of digital medium is something which is added to the curriculum, and that stays throughout. Much like you need a language, you have typically language 1, language 2, which are important for individual to build their future foundation. The awareness on cyber security and privacy is going to be as important as well. We had got DPDPA. I think to me, it goes much beyond the privacy of the data or protection of the data. It is going to bring a significant shift and evolution of the society as such. We as a society will be therefore have to bring that privacy aware mindset, right? And the DPDPA will ensure that also. It's a step that we just taken, but I think few years down the line we can see that we will become much more privacy aware society as such. So these are few things that are happening and that must continue to happen as well.